When high-speed algorithmic systems encounter critical ambiguity in their data flow, they are mathematically forced to guess. Binary logic dictates that an algorithm must make a definitive choice to execute or to abort, even when the underlying truth of a situation is completely uncertain. There is no computational mechanism for hesitation. This graph shows the Dow Jones on May 6, 2010. Automated systems reacting to ambiguous signals eliminated $1 trillion in market value. The majority of losses cascaded in under 5 minutes. Before human oversight could react, the damage was permanent. We place human oversight in charge of systems that operate in microseconds, expecting human reflexes to contain automated cascades. This binary failure extends directly into regulatory enforcement. In modern anti-money laundering compliance, forcing a binary choice on ambiguous transaction data generates false positive rates exceeding 90%. This structural inaccuracy costs the industry $274 billion annually. This is the governance gap. It is the widening chasm between the aspiration of regulatory oversight and the physical reality of computational enforcement. Post hoc forensic audits cannot stop algorithmic cascades. The flaw resides in the binary architecture itself, requiring a structural engineering solution rather than a policy update. Technology leaders frequently assume algorithmic risk can be mitigated by training better AI monitoring models or mandating more granular logging after an event occurs. That approach relies on compliance by trust. It asks institutions to self-certify their automated decisions after the execution has already happened. Game theory and market history confirm that this structure guarantees failure. Securing global economic systems requires a hardware-enforced third state. We need a computational mechanism that actively mandates structured hesitation when data is ambiguous. This architectural paradigm is called ternary logic. Ternary logic removes regulatory prudence from the realm of corporate policy and software recommendations, encoding it directly into an escapable physical law. The constitutional foundation of ternary logic rests on a single mandate, known as the Goukassian vow. Pause when truth is uncertain. Refuse when harm is clear. Proceed where truth is. The commands to proceed and refuse map neatly onto traditional binary logic states of +1 and -1. The architectural breakthrough is state 0, the epistemic hold. This diagram illustrates the triadic decision alphabet. State 0 is not an error code, a timeout, or a retry flag. It is a first-class mandatory constitutional determination that the truth of a transaction has not yet been established. When the system enters state 0, it triggers the sacred pause workflow. Execution strictly halts, locking the data packet in a holding pattern while the system escalates the ambiguity to a human steward. This logic operates under a strict, non-negotiable software covenant. No log equals no action. This schematic visualizes the no log equals no action enforcement funnel. It inverts traditional compliance by requiring a cryptographically sealed decision log to exist before the hardware is permitted to execute an action. Data passing through this funnel faces lane origin binding and on-chain terminal enforcement. If the specific decision log hash is absent from the Merkle root, the smart contract physically reverts the execution. Evidence generation becomes a gateway precondition. As the text confirms, power cannot execute without evidence. Under the no log equals no action covenant, economic power is structurally stripped of its ability to act without prior immutable justification. A strict constitutional gate raises an immediate operational question. How does ternary logic govern high-frequency trading systems without slowing them down? The solution is dual-lane architecture. It physically and logically separates binary calculation from constitutional evaluation. In the inference lane, binary computation operates at sub-millisecond speeds. Its only role is to propose actions based on market data. This diagram shows the convergence point between that proposed intention and its real-world consequence, the window comparator constitutional gate. This gate evaluates legitimacy by measuring physical voltage thresholds directly. It completely ignores software claims and bypasses traditional operating system trust layers. For an action to pass through, the governance lane must authorize it within a rigid 50-millisecond window. Within those 50 milliseconds, the system executes a Merkle pre-computation and a hardware security module signature, issuing a provisional permission token. the mechanism fails closed. If that token is not issued and verified before the 50 millisecond mark, the physical gate remains locked and the transaction is permanently blocked. This parallel structure allows binary inference engines to run at maximum speed, while maintaining an unyielding constitutional checkpoint that ensures compliance. Software-based compliance gateways share a universal vulnerability. They can eventually be bypassed by a sophisticated attacker with root access. To make software bypass impossible, we move the enforcement logic into the physical material, using delay-insensitive ternary logic, or DITL. DITL circuitry utilizes a null convention architecture, introducing hesitation directly into the physical layout of the board through an epistemic uncertainty resistor. When truth is uncertain, the resistor pauses the actual energy flow. It enforces the dignity of waiting at the electron level, creating a hardware impossibility for software vulnerabilities to bypass. This is a macro photograph of the component enforcing that pause, the Tantalum Oxide bilayer Memristive device. Ternary logic encodes its triadic states directly into the hardware substrate. The Tantalum Oxide layer maintains 3 stable resistance states, high, intermediate, and low, providing a physical representation for every decision. The epistemic hold is physically represented by the yellow intermediate state. This creates a hardware-level interlock that cannot be spoofed by overriding an operating system. Bypassing this governance structure requires violating the laws of material physics. It completely eliminates the possibility of hidden administrative overrides. This flowchart maps the complete, unbroken chain of enforcement, known as the impossibility stack. To push an unauthorized transaction through this stack, an attacker would have to clear 4 insurmountable barriers: break physics, silence decentralized oracles, rewrite immutable blockchain ledgers, and defy material reality. But anchoring logs to public blockchains raises a severe regulatory conflict. How does a permanent, immutable ledger comply with the right to erasure mandated by GDPR Article 17? The architectural solution to this conflict is the hybrid shield and ephemeral key rotation. We achieve compliance through cryptographic erasure. Personal data is encrypted using advanced key derivation before it hits the ledger. When a valid erasure request is made, we permanently destroy the decryption keys. The audit trail remains structurally intact, but the personal data becomes mathematically irrecoverable. Ternary logic proves that absolute structural privacy and permanent governance audits can coexist on the same ledger without compromising either system. Over decades, organizations suffer from semantic drift. Under economic pressure, human institutions slowly erode, reinterpret, or conveniently forget their own governance rules. The architecture actively intercepts these deviations. It detects the drift in real time and halts the execution until a new decision log is generated. The system forces accountability onto its own creators, pausing questionable actions generated by the institution's leadership and locking the attempt behind a cryptographic signature. This creates the immutable ledger. It serves as the ultimate institutional memory, one that easily outlives the people who authored it. The ledger acts as a permanent conscience. It ensures the framework remains strictly faithful to its original principles, acknowledging only documented truth. Goukassian designed this specification as a structural cage for algorithmic systems. It prevents automated logic from scaling beyond the reach of human-defined constraints. By requiring physical evidence for every action, ternary logic ensures that economic power remains accountable to the laws of material physics.